So, what if we could stop paralysis in its tracks? I mean, really stop it. Today, we're going to dive into some absolutely groundbreaking research that's using cannabis-derived compounds and some seriously high-tech science to tackle something that for a long time seemed impossible, actually repairing the spinal cord after an injury. When you think about a spinal cord injury, you probably picture that initial moment of impact. But here's the thing, that's just the first domino to fall. The real, lasting damage, the stuff that truly determines the outcome, actually happens in the hours, days, and even weeks that follow. Scientists have a name for this. They call it the secondary injury. And honestly, the earthquake analogy is perfect. It's like a wildfire that tears through the spinal cord. Inflammation just rages out of control. Healthy cells get choked out by something called oxidative stress, and neurons start dying off, even ones that were nowhere near the original injury. This is the real enemy. Halting these aftershocks is everything. Right, so this secondary cascade, this is what ultimately leads to the most devastating outcomes, like paralysis and that relentless chronic pain. So for researchers, the goal is crystal clear. You have to find a way to jump in and stop this destructive chain reaction before it's too late. So where do you start? Well, one of the first compounds researchers turned to was actually a pretty familiar one. A 2018 study decided to put cannabidiol, CBD, to the test to see if its well-known anti-inflammatory powers could actually stand up to this brutal secondary damage. The researchers were basically asking two huge questions. First, could CBD, which we know is great at calming inflammation, actually protect the spinal cord in this intense environment? And second, could it do anything about two of the absolute worst outcomes, that horrible nerve pain and, of course, the loss of movement? And the results? Well, they were fascinating because it was a total split decision. On the one hand, CBD was a huge win against inflammation. It calmed things down at the injury site, which had a direct positive effect on nerve pain. But on the other hand, when it came to actually helping the mice walk again or regain bladder control, it did almost nothing. And this chart really drives home just how good it was for pain. I mean, just look at this. In the untreated group, a whopping 70% of the mice developed severe pain. But in the group that got CBD, that number plummeted to just 25%. That is a massive, massive difference. It proved CBD is a powerful tool for at least one part of this problem. And that was the million-dollar question, wasn't it? Relieving pain is incredibly important, no question. But the holy grail here is restoring function, helping people get back on their feet. That 2018 study made it clear that CBD by itself wasn't going to be the answer for motor recovery. And that pushed scientists to start thinking way outside the box. So, if CBD wasn't the magic bullet for movement, what was? Well, let's fast forward to 2024, because a new study took a radically different approach. They didn't just swap out the drug, they completely revolutionized how it was delivered to the target. Okay, so this time they used a synthetic compound called AM1241. It's custom-built to hit a very specific target called the CB2 receptor, which you can think of as kind of like the immune system's dimmer switch. But the real game changer, the truly brilliant part, was how they packaged it, using a kind of biological stealth technology. They used these things called exosomes. They're these tiny, tiny little bubbles that our own cells make naturally, and they are experts at carrying messages and cargo through the body. So the idea was, why not load these biological drones up with the AM1241 and have them deliver the medicine directly to the damaged cells? Super targeted, super precise. So the big question is, did it work? Did this new strategy, a more targeted compound delivered by these high-tech biological drones, did it finally crack the code on recovering movement? Oh yeah, it worked. The results here are just stunning. This chart shows motor function scores 8 weeks after the injury. The control group, they barely got any better, scoring around a 2.5. But the group that got the AM1241 delivered by exosomes, they shot up to a 5.5. That is more than double the recovery. This wasn't just a small improvement, this was a legitimate breakthrough. So why was this so incredibly effective? Because it launched this multi-pronged attack on that whole secondary injury cascade we talked about. It didn't just dial down inflammation. It actively fought off that oxidative stress, it stepped in to stop the self-destruct program in neurons, and it ended up saving way more nerve cells from dying. And here's the most elegant part. It turns out the therapy worked by flicking on a switch, a powerful pathway called NRF2/HO1. You can think of this as the master switch for the cell's own internal defense and repair team. So instead of just fighting the fire from the outside, this treatment empowered the cells to protect and fix themselves from within. It's just brilliant. Okay, so let's pull back for a second. We've looked at these two incredible studies. What's the big picture here? What's the major takeaway for the future of treating spinal cord injuries? This table just lays it all out so clearly. The 2018 study used a broad, general approach with CBD and proved it was a great tool for nerve pain. The 2024 study used a laser-focused compound with a precision delivery system, and it succeeded in improving motor function. The key insight here, it's not that one is better than the other. It's about using the right tool for the right job. And this quote from that first study back in 2018 just hits the nail on the head. The biological mess that causes nerve pain is fundamentally different from the mess that causes paralysis. What we've learned is that a one-size-fits-all approach was probably never going to work. And that leaves us with this tantalizing, incredible glimpse into what's next. If one therapy can target pain and another can help restore movement, maybe the future isn't about finding one single silver bullet. Maybe it's about creating a personalized therapeutic cocktail precisely designed to fight every single facet of the injury, the pain, the paralysis, and more, all at the same time. Now that is a future worth fighting for.